Taking a second. It's different, right? It's kind of cool like that. Yeah. Fireside chat.
It's so funny.
Taking a second. All right. We're live now.
Okay.
All right. So let me okay. Infernal greetings, infernal blessings to all. Welcome to another great discussion between myself and the Cosmic Serpent. One of the things we will begin discussing or talking about this evening is essentially self-empowerment. And what does exactly that mean? Walking the adversarial path, how it could be advantageous for you, so on and so forth. First, after that, I'd like to introduce our guests, no stranger to the Temple of the Black Serpent YouTube channel, the Cosmic Serpent. Introduce yourself, give them your information, and we'll start from there.
Okay, so hello, I am the Cosmic Serpent, and I am a left-hand path practitioner. I have an Instagram that is at the.cosmic.serpent. Most of my information is there. I am a spiritual service provider. So I am a oracle reader. I do consultations, spiritual consultations. I have a really great program going right now, and we're having a lot of fun with inner child healing, which is really important, no matter what somebody or anybody on this path tells you.
Exactly.
The inner child healing is very, very much fun. And I've got, dream consultations, whatever you need, customized situations. But yeah, I'm the Cosmic Serpent. I've been a practitioner for quite some time. And as all of you that are watching well know, Ravana is pretty much like my first and greatest mentor. So been here for quite some time. So that's me.
All right. Nice. All right. So let's get into it. What exactly is self-empowerment for those who may be aware or not aware? And then connect it to how important it is to the left-hand path. And then we'll just dialogue back and forth from there.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about the self-empowerment aspect of this path because it falls on me sometimes when I see the issues that are going on in the world, issues that are going on, especially with the changes that are happening, and basically within the melanated community, if you can call it a community, just with people that I've experienced. I'm like, okay, self-empowerment is just not affirmations, giving yourself, the best version of yourself every day, trying very hard. And, all of that is great. But on the left-hand path, self-empowerment has a lot more meaning. It's actually rooted in the meaning of the left-hand path. And I've talked about this briefly, but there's actually a meaning. And people call left-hand path demonolatry, Luciferianism, Satanism, just the study of occult sciences, just looking inward and searching yourself. But there are actually aspects of the left-hand path that describe self-empowerment. And, the first one is self-deification. So we talk about self-deification. What is it? It's the removal of dogma, and it's transcending like the lower aspects of your humanity to understand yourself. You are your source. You are your source of enlightenment. You are your source of, your gauge to morality. You choose to evaluate yourself as a practice. You choose to search and gain knowledge of yourself as a practice, and you are your only judge. I mean, I feel like there's confusion when it comes to self-deification, because I've seen people say, oh, those on the left-hand path, they consider themselves gods, and that's spiritual psychosis. But you don't understand the meaning. We're not gods in the aspect of ruling over others. We're ruling ourselves. So that's why the self-deification piece of the left-hand path is directly connected to self-empowerment, because there's wisdom in solitary practice. There's wisdom to be found in looking within. So if your judgment is more important than someone else's, then you become empowered. You know, if you remove the need to please, if you remove the need to, you know, be affirmed by someone that pretty much doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing, then, you know, you become empowered. Then there's individualism, which, you know, you become the focus of your own life. What more empowering thing is that, to take away the focus from anyone external? And that's very taboo. You know, we're supposed to live for our families, live for our children, live for our spouses, live for humanity, you know, live for all of these things. But true liberation and embodying the left-hand path in its fullness does not require any of that. And there is no changing the outer world without changing yourself, you know, where you're going to win, but within, like, you know, Lauryn Hill always says, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's no gaining momentum without a sense of individualism. And it's like the two aspects that I wanted to talk about with that relate to self-empowerment are, you know, morality, moralism, and healing. You know, morality is tied very deeply into self-worth, you know, self-worth. And it's like, because everything has a mask. So you take the mask off and you're like, okay, why do I need to hold myself to a moral standard that was created from something that is meant to control me? Like, why? You know, because it's an aspect of your self-worth. Do you feel like you're worthy of living your life without judgment? You know, are you going to be empowered enough to stand on your own too, to say, these are my beliefs and this is my code and I'm going to stick to it regardless of what Jesus says or what Allah says or what anybody says, you know? And then the second part of individualism is healing. And it's so funny because there's such like an adverse thing to healing on this path. It's like, it's almost like, ooh, if you're healing, you're not left hand, you know, you're supposed to just be this fucked up ball of nothing nonsense, and you're not supposed to heal yourself. But healing is self-awareness, because if you don't heal, and the true meaning of healing and the word is completion, you know, a sense of wellness, completion. So if you want to be broken and unwhole, then you'll die and come right back here. You'll learn these lessons all over again. You know, healing is learning your lessons, growing from them, changing, and becoming the best version of yourself. So that is a part of individualism, which is a part of left-hand path, which ties directly to self-empowerment. You cannot be empowered. You cannot call yourself left-hand if you don't heal.
That's a fact.
Being rogue, fucked up, you know, all just doing all these things to people, and, you know, being this type of person that just that lives in this world of, you know, your self-created madness. You have to grow out of that. Conspiracy theory, you have to grow out of that. There are aspects that you come across that have to be healed within you because they're not something that you are benefiting from.
That's facts.
You know,
so
and
let
there's so much.
Let me add on from here, because you made really good points, and I want to bring this up in case individuals have never read this book I'm about to state. Get it if you're new to the left-hand path or curious about it or have even been walking this. It's the Left-Hand Path Guide by Uncle Sekhnat, okay, who's also known as Don Webb. And something that Cosmic Serpent stated here, he discusses here in this book, okay? Essentially, we on the left-hand path are sovereign beings, or we're seeking to become sovereign. Sovereign is basically rulership over yourself.
Right.
Okay? This sovereignty to us on the left-hand path comes in 4 types of rulership. According to Don Webb, it's rulership of the inner world. Mm-hmm. Notice that's the first rulership that he stated here. Rulership of the inner world. Without the inner world, you can't master the outer world. And see, what happens to many people is they get deluded in life. Okay. And so they stay in their madness. And Cosmic Serpent, I love that part that you stated, because what happens when people really come to the left-hand path is the first step for many on the left-hand path is a rebellious stage. This is when they're attracted to Satanism. Satanism is like basically the kindergarten of the left-hand path. Now, I don't care if people are Satanists or not. That's their choice if they want to stay there. And there's a reason I'm saying this. Eventually, you have to evolve past Satanism and look at it from more than just a physical aspect. And what I mean is, many people, when they get into the left-hand path, they're angry. Why are they angry? Because they were lied to about religion. They were lied to about many great things. So Satanism draws them in. It appeals to them. Okay. It appeals to them so they can then further go into their delusions. And what I mean by that is they feel that this world is cruel. No one is on their side. So screw the world and screw everything about it. I'm just going to just go straight into debauchery, straight into gluttony, straight into everything, and just lose myself in that because the world is the way it is, and this God is fake and it hates, and so people come into this path a lot of times rebellious. Okay, they're angry, they want to fight and debate and argue, and this is when you can sometimes tell the level of self-initiation they've undergone, because what happens is as you start to evolve, you start to realize that is just a introductory phase, and the left-hand path is much more than that. The total goal, the grand goal of the left-hand path is apotheosis, self-deification. So to deify the self is not a religious aspect as so much people would believe, where you're deifying and creating this aspect. People think that you're trying to be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, so on and so forth. This has nothing to do with being any of those things.
Exactly.
Because in the left-hand path, we're adverse to that already as it is. The purpose for us to be a God is to master the self, and therefore a God to us is someone who takes accountability and responsibility for everything in their life, whether it's a beautiful thing, ugly thing, disgusting thing. It is all part of our choices, and we have no one to blame for the outcome but our choices. So we seek to evolve and become more aware so that we become individuals who make the prime choice and not just a choice based upon a situation, based upon a desire or so on and so forth. So when we say that we're becoming gods, it's not God based upon your religious terms. It's not God based upon spiritual terms. It's God based upon the fact is I'm a sovereign grand commander, as they would say in the Freemasonic Lodge. I'm a sovereign grand commander over myself. And therefore, the first step I take is rulership of the inner world. And the inner world has been affected from the age of 0 to 7. And I say 0 purposely. From 0 to 7, because those are the most formative years of a child's development. And in those first 7 years, if something happened to you, traumatic, it doesn't even have to be traumatic. It could have been simple. You were ignored by your parents when you most wanted attention. So you became a person who seeks attention the rest of their life and goes to the extreme to get attention. And now you're in a predicament because of that attention seeking has led you to situations that are now adverse to you. It can be simple as that. But those first 7 years, what we learn as children affects us for the rest of our life. And people may argue about that or not and not want to agree, but it's a fact. You can research it. You can take an internal journey and realize that it still affected me to this day, because everything that happened during that time, 95% of the way we learn, according to some psychologists, some scholars, so on and so forth, who've done research in this area, was by observable behavior. It wasn't so much what you heard. It wasn't what you saw on TV. So that has an effect on you, no doubt. It's what you observe your parents, your siblings, your uncles, aunts, so on and so forth. Their behavior is how you learned to interact with this world. And if your parents, yes, if your parents were screwed, a little off, they had their own issues, well, guess what you kind of acquired by observing them?
You have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. So if your dad, like mine, tended to be abusive sometimes mentally, but sometimes physically, then you grow up as a man thinking that's the way I'm supposed to handle a situation with a woman when I'm arguing. So then you then are basically a robot. You're becoming a robot now because you're replicating what you saw from your dad, and you are interacting with women your rest of your life unless you catch it and do something about it in an abusive manner.
Absolutely.
And what happens is that abuse is more mental a lot of times, but you think, oh, I'm the man, so it is what it is, and it goes how I say and how I say it is, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But you're not realizing you're doing it just like your daddy. And somewhere along the line, most of us kids at one point or another said, I don't want to be like my daddy or my mom or something like that. I want to be myself. But yet and still, years later, you're a lot like your daddy or your mama. And that is why Cosmic Serpent goes deep into healing the inner child, because that part of 0 to 7 is still affecting you today. Some women who are out here on social media land who can't help but show their, their goods every day. Like do they breathe? Do you do something else besides show your goods every day?
Right.
Is because they lacked attention when they were younger.
Right.
I'm not saying that's across the board. That's what it is. In some cases, yes, they lacked attention. So they go about seeking this attention they want this attention to receive it any kind of way they can. But sometimes they're attracting the wrong energy to them. And so now 5 years later, they got 4 kids and they didn't want kids. Now they're in another situation because of the attention seeking. They attracted the wrong man. The man came with all the lingo, sly slickness. Oh, he wowed you and made you feel good, head over heels type stuff. And then he dogged you out and disappeared on you. This is why we're saying healing the inner child is utmost importance.
Absolutely.
Because it starts there. If you don't heal that part, you're always going to be living in this habitual pattern based upon that programming from observing for the rest of your life. Cosmic Serpent, go a little further into why the inner child is so important. As Don Webb says here, the rulership of the inner world. Why is that so important to the inner world?
Absolutely. I love when Don Webb put it that way, rulership of the inner world, because that's what it is. They are the magicians. They are the ones that run the show. Like I always preach, I say this over and over. What you said was spot on. Like the way that you've absorbed the behaviors, or the way that you've observed from 0 to 7, that's what builds your worldview. You are building your worldview at that age. It doesn't matter what you've experienced after that. What happened in those developmental years now colors everything else. So the reason why it's so important is because if you are not in tune with that aspect of yourself, you will not have any idea of why you do the things you do. It will always be somebody else's fault. It will always be just bad luck. It will always be, you got dealt a raw hand, or I'm supposed to live a fucked up life because I'm incarnated to suffer, and all these nonsense things that I've heard. But it's the inner child that's running the show. If you get to a point where you can put yourself in a state of self-hypnosis and you can go back to some of those experiences, if they invoke an emotion in you, then they are still important. They are still the way that you see the world. You could be 100 years old, doesn't matter. It's super important to go back to those days and those experiences and those aspects, because you feel like, okay, I've dealt with some people that says, inner child healing is not important because, you're an adult now, you just grow up, you get over it. You were not able to be heard, seen, understood, felt at that time. So you internalized whatever happened to you. It's still there. If it was not processed, which cannot be possible for a 0 to 7-year-old when something traumatic happens, it's impossible for a child to process something like that. Depends on what happened. If you didn't get counseling, or if you didn't get someone that dealt with that with you when you got older, you are still housing that, and it comes up. And if you have something that's there that hurts you from your childhood, it is affecting you today. You know, I've dealt, and not to put anybody's business out there, but I have a client and she knows I love her to death, but she had a very, very, very hard time with her father. Horrible time with her father. And you know what she does now? She uses men for money. Like, she drags these men through the dirt. And I'm not saying that is the reason why these girls are doing that. Some people, if you choose to do it, that's what you do. But the view that she has is like so sterile and so one strand thought that I have to trace it back. And we trace it back to say, okay, so where did this robotic view of people come from? Where does this robotic view come from? So we go back, and then we go back further, and then we go back further. And it's like, okay, so your father used to leave you in the car for long periods of time while he went in and gambled, and you felt abandoned. So you couldn't trust men. You never trusted men. It's just important. Everything that you are experiencing that is of a negative connotation in your experience today, if you do the inner child healing work, you can trace it back. It doesn't matter. Something is there. And it's because, just like Ravana's saying, the developmental years are the years where you color your worldview.
Yep.
If you had a beautiful childhood, a beautiful life, you probably have an optimistic outlook on life now. It's just the way it is. So yeah, it is so important.
All right. So let me go a little further into what Don Webb says here about the rulership of the inner world, so we can keep going deeper into the abyss about self-empowering. The basis of the left-hand path is that humans are but machines. Yes, we're robotic. We tend to do a lot of things the same way over and over, generations after generation, so on and so forth, but may in potential become gods. The first aspect that a human has to change is their inner world. That's the first thing. When you come to the left-hand path, that you should change. This is why Cosmic Serpent said, it's not about hating. It's not about being angry. It's not about wanting to fight the world. Okay, that serves its place. And when you learn how to use it, you best will master that part of you to benefit you in greater ways. What you first have to learn how to do is attack that part of yourself that you've either been taught or rather acquired a series of randomly assorted thoughts, notions, and behaviors, most of which either actively hinder you or lull you into a sleep-like hypnotic state. These solidifying forces mainly group themselves into forces that oppose the body, the mind, and emotions, and the will. Each of these must be overcome. You cannot, let's say this again, you cannot claim you're a black adept on the left-hand path unless you've mastered parts of yourself. Okay? If you feel like you just got to be antagonistic all the time and fighting all the time, that's not left-hand path. That's some fuckery, to be honest with you. You shouldn't have to do any of that, because if your whole focus and goal is to master yourself, what the hell are you bothering other people for? Your whole focus should be inside yourself, going within yourself and mastering every aspect of yourself, so things outside of you don't bother you like they used to. That's the point about this. So if you're agitated by someone saying something and you take it the wrong way and it sets you afire inside, that's because you haven't taken the inner journey to figure out why it keeps triggering me and why I keep getting angry about it. Because if you did take the inner journey, you would now be less triggered about things and be more in control over yourself. So the forces that oppose the body are those things which shorten the life. They remove energy or dull the senses. So most of the time, they're recreational drugs, legal or illegal, fall in this category. This also is fast food. Yes, America's a fast food junkie heaven. You are literally on drugs if you're hooked to fast food. If you eat Wendy's every day, you're hooked on drugs, man. Sorry, but people got to start realizing the facts. If you can't, take your time to cook, if you really say you love yourself, you would cook more often. But if not, if you're not able to cook for yourself, then take the time to find what's the healthiest choices, food options that are available in your city, and go there, even if it's across town. If you really love yourself, like you say you do, if you're really trying to master yourself, then these are the things you would do. Okay. Certain cultural attitudes, such as the forces that make many young women anorexic, or the opposite, are likewise of such a nature. The environmental factors. See, he's going down the line, and I'm reading this because then I want Cosmic Serpent to elaborate further, because it associates a lot of the associates to the work she's doing. So now, the environmental factors that may surround us are like toxic waste, fluorescent lighting, chemtrails, and all this other nonsense that's going on outside of us, right? That also weakens us. The initiate discovers these factors by life analysis. Analyze your life. This is why we always say, take inventory of yourself. I'm not talking about skim the surface. Oh yeah, I get mad about this. That's anybody can figure that out. I'm talking about sit there and do work, ritual work, to break through this blockage you have, to go deep into your subconscious, the abyss part of your subconscious, and figure out stuff that you do not know about yourself and how it's affecting you now and how it's controlling your life now. That's what we're really trying to get to, because that's the part that's hardest to get to. It's easy to figure out things that you see about your behavior when you see them all the time, but it's what's affecting you behind the scenes, deep in your subconscious, that you're not aware, that's leading you to this. So the initiate discovers these factors by analyzing their life. Okay. In their place, he or she will adopt a training program to make the body do what he or she wishes, not the other way around.
Right.
You're supposed to master this physical body you're in. This meat suit that we're in, that comes with plugs like the Matrix, but it's inside of the skin, is literally just that. It's a suit you wear while you're here going through the schooling you needed, because you chose to come here to live this life for a certain reason. Only you will figure that out. That is supposed to be taken care of. Otherwise than that, you're not going to get the schooling necessary that you need while you're here. Okay? So this body has to be taken care of. You should be exercising. And if you're not able to exercise, walk. Walk like your life depends on it, because it literally does. Okay?
It does.
Most of us have watches nowadays that keep track of how many steps you take. If you don't get one, okay, you should be able to get at least 10,000 or more steps a day. Just on the average, just going to work, walking in the job, doing all this, you should be able to get that. If you bump it up to 20,000, you will be amazed how your body starts to transform. Okay, that's just little tidbits. The best sort of training is either things that deal with self-defense, martial arts, dancing, so on and so forth. I myself, I love kickboxing, but I also do weight training in the gym, so on and so forth. So I'm making sure that we deal with the body. In the Sith classes that I have, we have a whole training program that's about to be introduced, physical training program. And everybody should institute that in their life. Okay. The forces that oppose the mind. Now, this is the real juicy part. And this is where I want Cosmic Serpent to step in. The forces that oppose the body are those things. Oh, wait, I already did that. The forces that oppose the mind are those habits of non-thinking. Non-thinking. You think you're thinking, but in actuality, you're not really thinking, because it's a program, and this program is running on a loop, and you're doing it every day. Okay. We have adopted believing certain thoughts of this form of non-thinking. We read the newspaper. Well, I don't know who reads papers nowadays, not that many. They read it on their phone, watch TV, surf the internet, and then what happens is they're doing that, they're being bombarded by subliminal messages all day. You're just being bombarded. Bam, bam, bam. Social media is listen, they even actually prove how Instagram affects the minds of young children. Okay, it affects their self-esteem and everything else, and yet they're still pushing it, still promoting it. You understand? So it's it's a double standard in this world, but hey, that's the facts. Surf the internet, and then they're basically being bombarded on how to think, what to think is cool, what's not cool. So you're basically, what it comes down to is a lot of us don't realize that the thoughts we think are ours, a lot of our thoughts are not ours. They're thoughts that we were introduced outside of us, and we accepted it as ours. Sad case, but it's a fact. Most of us don't think for ourselves. We really don't. Okay. And the first step here is how to train your mind again, how to change your mind. Cosmic Serpent gave a little tidbit on working the mind, especially when it comes to healing that inner child. So I would love her to go a little further on, what steps can be really taken to heal this aspect of ourselves that far too many people on this path don't pay attention to, because they're too busy wanting to be super dark. They're too busy wanting to, just be so freaking grotesque, and I'm horrific, and I'm just a demon, and they have no clue really what a demon is. They just seen horror movies and Hollywood, and they think that's a demon. Nah, man, that ain't no demon. Because if you accept that to be true, and then you manifest a vision, or you manifest something like that to manifest, that wasn't yours. You were programmed to think that's what a demon is, and you manifested it thinking, oh shit, I'm dope. Look at, I can manifest a demon. And that's not really what you did.
Yeah, that demon that they're talking about, is not a demon as we're speaking, an internal intelligence. It is a oppressive demonic spirit, not a demonic spirit. It's a demonic spirit, meaning like, something that's feeding off of you, parasitic. That's what that is. If you're so dark all the time, and this is how you are, and you can't see yourself, you can't see the forest for the trees, you're just locked in this, you are being fed off. But that's a whole nother thing. But talking about, going back to what you're saying, practical ways of being able to do this, self-hypnosis is the first way. And the beauty about this is that exactly what you said earlier, we're on this path for a reason. We don't have to run to mundane aspects of healing first. If that's something that you need, then, if you need to go see a traditional therapist for these issues, if you need medication to help you break some strongholds in your mind to be able to get over something and then get to the point where you can do some self-work, fine, so be it. But the beauty of this path is that we have the aspect of spell work. We have the aspect of physical energy manipulation. So whereas someone else would talk to a friend and then let that friend, tell them what to do, we're taking candles, we're working with deities and spirits and energies to break these aspects of ourselves so that we can get to the next step. So physical work, everything that starts in the spiritual has to be done physically here. Everything that starts in the mind needs to be done externally first. So if you have aspects of the self that you want to traverse, if you feel like your life is just not going in the way that you want it to go because you can never get it right, or it's always something, if you're one of those people, it's always something, you are attracting that something. And the reason you're attracting that something is because there's an aspect of your subconscious mind that wants it. There's a great book, and I don't know, I've spoke about it before, and I don't agree with everything in the book, but it's a book called Existential Kink. It's by Caroline Elliott. She is awesome. But the book talks about how aspects of your life must be in some way wanted by you to be able to manifest. It is, even if even if something horrible happens to you, there has to be an aspect of you that call that in. Now, this goes to the point of you believing that you're creating your own universe. So if you don't believe that, then this ain't gonna work. But, you know, if you get it into your mind that everything that's happening is because of your resonance and your associations, then you understand why it's important. So the most important thing with going back is firstly coming up with some sort of a meditation, being guided in a meditation, getting comfortable with traversing your personal abyss. What does it mean to go into your subconscious mind? Do you understand how to decode what's going on? This is the aspect that we are talking about. This is what Ravana is talking about, decoding. You know, if you don't value yourself, you're not going to give a fuck about what you eat. If you don't understand yourself, you're not going to care about what happens to you when, you know, you let these things fester. So you have to give yourself that encouragement to say, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this out of self-love. I want to change. I want to be the best version. So that helps with the meditation. You go into the meditation with the intention of this is medicine. This is going to help me. And then you just allow the mind to develop. You might see something crazy. You might see a face you never seen before, a place you never seen before, a smell, a sound, anything. But when you're doing that subconscious mind work, it's all about decoding. Really simple 5-minute thing that you can start doing. Get into the place where you are in the dark, see a door, walk to that door, you open that door, there is a ladder going down. You go down that ladder until it is nothingness. You go down that ladder until you feel like you are consumed by darkness. You are in the space that is completely void, and then you let go of the ladder. Just let your mind go. Just let your mind go. The first couple times, you're going to feel really awkward and nothing might happen. But if you keep doing it, your subconscious is going to give you some visions, some pictures, some sounds, some memories. That's where you can start. That's a gauge, you know, that's like the beginning, you know, that's the beginning. Okay, so I saw my grandmother's old bedroom. Why is that so important? You know what I mean? And then you start to use your logical mind to go backwards to see if that's something that has affected you, something happened there, or is it a sense of comfort is there, a sense of fear, whatever. But self-hypnosis in that way is a practical way. Another way that's really good is to actually know your story. And this sounds really trivial and mundane, but there's so many of us, I've dealt with so many people that are like, I don't know what happened to my parents. I don't know why they were that way. I don't know why they treated me like that. I don't know what happened to them. Talk to people that were in your family to find out if they've had abusive issues. Do they have a history of mental illness? Like you have to do this work. You have to like go into it to say, I'm doing this for myself and I'm doing this actively. So those are a couple ways, definitely.
Yep. All right. So let me also add this last part. He says here, the forces that oppose the will are blind obedience to external symbols and signals. Now, this can go a lot of ways.
Right.
Some people, you know, for example, when they're doing ritual work, some people cannot do a ritual without a sigil. Now, I understand the purpose of the sigil. I understand how it works, all that. I've used it in the past myself. That's not the point. The point is, if you feel you can't do a ritual work without a sigil, you're becoming basically a slave to the sigil, not the other way around. Now, this may hurt some people's feelings who do a lot of ritual work, but the point is this, and I've been saying this for the last 3-4 years, you are the ritual, you are the altar. You can go back to my old videos and see when I said that. You should be able to do a ritual in the moment as a trigger has occurred. And in that moment that a trigger occurred and you feel yourself reacting, okay, to something and not being a active individual, but a passive, because a reaction is a passive thing, okay? You should be to the level where you don't wait to get home to deal with the situation that occurred. You deal with it right then and there because you are the altar. You are the ritual. You should be able to ritualize every aspect of your life. So you should be practicing. Now, this may be hard. I know this may be hard for some people on this path. You should be practicing doing away with being in front of your altar all the time. You should be minimizing how much you're in front of the altar, because that becomes a habit, or it becomes something you easily get enslaved to, and you don't really understand the power that you possess until you're able to break away from these things that we rely so much on. Your tools are simply that, tools that you use that are on your altar. But at what point do you transcend those tools and realize you are the tool? Right. You are the tool. Those tools have always been inside you. It's just that these became focal points because they're external objects that was able to help you focus on a required task, goal, desire, intention, so on and so forth. But people do become easily blinded by, symbols and sigils, and, they think that makes them so profound. I'll give you an example. I've seen people, who, okay, I can understand you wear a couple rings or coat rings and stuff, but damn, bro, they got rings. Listen, man, every finger got a ring. They got rings in their ears. They got freaking rings on their toes. I'm like, damn, bro, it comes to a point that you got to realize those symbols are external.
Right.
But what they mean is internal. Exactly. So at what point do you transcend the external symbol and realize, I understand what this means on a subconscious and unconscious level? I should be able to access that at any point in time to set a fire to what I need to in the moment. So for example, like commonly people think that I got to wait till I get home to deal with this situation. No. Because by the time you get home, life has put twists and turns before you get home that you may forget. Okay? You may forget, or it might not hold as much weight as it did. So now you kind of let it go. And the worst thing you could do is let it go, because it showed that you still haven't mastered that which triggers you. So you actually need to go further into it. That's why you do it in that moment. But we are blind, literally blind to external things. Sometimes we see the trigger coming. We can see this individual. We see him a mile away. This person is straight antagonistic from a mile away. And we still let that fucker come up to us. We still fall for the okie doke that they're going to push us through, and we know it's coming, and we fall for it every time. So we have to stop and address ourselves and say, it's not that you're avoiding the person, because I'll walk right up to that person, but I'm going to be the one in control of the situation. You're not going to be in control of the situation. You understand? That's when you become a sovereign ruler over yourself, and you say, ain't nothing externally going to trigger me again. And if it does, hey, that just means you need a little more work, which is a good thing, because what in this world, the people who thrive in this world are people who come up with solutions to problems. Problems are always going to be in your life. It's those people who come up with solutions to those problems. So to be a real sovereign ruler over yourself, how are you going to come up with solutions to your problems? Yeah. Figure out those solutions, because if you're still behaving the same way over and over, I'll give you an example. Certain people feel that they have profound knowledge. Now, let me tell you something. Knowledge is just knowledge, and this may hurt their butt cheeks by me saying this. Knowledge is just knowledge. Why? Because it's just information. But if you don't do something with that information, you don't execute a plan, a goal, a purpose by, all the information you would obtain, then it becomes useless information. Okay. So there's a lot of people who feel like they can't be challenged or questioned. And so therefore that triggers them because they feel they have profound knowledge, and you sit back there and throw one simple question out at them, and it throws them for a loop. They want to get confrontational. They want to get violent, all kinds of things. But bro, I thought you were Tahuti. I thought you were the incarnation of Ra. I thought you were, some great guru, and you're triggered that easily. Something ain't right there.
Right.
You understand? This happens quite often, more than we think. You should be at the point where when people question you, you take it as a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
They're either inquiring or trying to antagonize you. Either one is going to benefit you because you can share information that might help you. And if they're trying to antagonize you, it's a challenge for you to see how much you really are mastering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's where we got to start getting to a point where when you understand rulership of the inner world, the outer world becomes easier to be a ruler over it. And that doesn't mean you're a ruler over other people.
Right.
If you choose to be that, that's fine. Everybody has their own little things they like. But the rulership of the outer world is mastering your physical shit. That's the day, that's the day side that us as vampires speak about a lot. There's the day side and the night side. In the day side, you should have your financial affairs in order, your physical affairs in order, so on and so forth. Don't get it twisted. If you're super spiritual, but you're broke like Chuck, and you got not a pot to piss in,
right.
That spiritual knowledge and information is not doing anything for
Useless.
you. And that's what I used to hate about being on the right-hand path and all that super spiritual conscious crap, is because there was flat broke people who 5 hours earlier, 2 hours earlier, were giving us such a great lecture. And then, but after the lecture, yo, bro, can you spot me? Spot you? Can you spot me 20 to get in the club or to go here? What? Bro,
no,
you just dropped bombs, bro. You was dropping some bomb, but that means you don't believe in what you were saying or teaching.
Right.
And this happened a lot to me when I was in conscious community and right-hand path stuff. It happened more often than people think. These lecturers will be up there, blah, 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 and then, bro, can you spot me? I'm like, this shows an imbalance in people.
Right.
Okay, because there's no harmonious integration there. Your physical is a reflection of your spiritual and vice versa. If you have wealth of spiritual knowledge, why isn't it manifesting in the physical? It should be manifesting in the physical. We're not here to be broke. Okay, we're here to live our life to the fullest.
Right.
Okay, on the left-hand path, we're not trying to shun success, but see, that's also a part of conscious programming, because in the last video in class I mentioned this. Think about all the subliminal programming and outright programming that superhero movies do to people every day. And what I mean by that is, notice the Avengers, notice all these people, right? Tony Stark is the richest of them all. Okay, that's only one out of 20 villains who are super rich. You notice in comic books and movies, they always show the villain as being a billionaire. And they always show the hero to be pious, pious and just community loving and everything else. But they're not really wealthy, like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. The guy, is living an average life.
It's programming.
That's subliminal programming to make you think, damn, to be rich or wealthy means I have to be, demonic and evil and just and this and no, bro. This is where all this programming got to be done away with, because you're never going to master your outer world unless you start to master that and start to realize, my mind, the way I see things has been skewed by all these external things. I got to really do some work, because if I don't, I can't self-empower. I am not going to empower myself the way I should. So, Cosmic Serpent, what does it mean? Truly, let's take it deeper into that adversarial mindset to empower yourself as a person who's adversarial to most of what the world is.
To me, it truly means. It really truly means embracing your sovereignty in every way. Like you said, it means embracing your sovereignty in every way. I mean, there is an aspect of the left-hand path that's called antinomianism. So we talk about antinomianism. It is an adverse. It is being adverse and being wanting to resist and to shun what's traditional. what is typical, what is, widespread, mainstream. It's, it's not us being cool kids. It's the fact that we're doing it for a purpose, because we know that this mundane world is full of these programming aspects. So we're not being adversarial and going in the left hand and in the dark aspects just because we're goth, or this is something that we like. We're embodying the aspect of the left hand path, which embraces the fact that we're not supposed to be doing this. This is where sovereignty comes from. You're not supposed to believe what you're seeing on television if you're on the left hand path. You're not supposed to be drowning yourself in social media. You're not supposed to be drowning yourself in what's happening in the world externally and then being able to do nothing about it. I get so tired. I love my people. I love the people that send me memes and information and all that stuff. But the ones that send me the fear mongering stuff and the things that are always like, okay, this person is drowning, this person over here, these people are fighting, this is all this and the third. My question is, what are you going to do about that?
Not a damn thing.
What are you going to do about it besides send that to me and then say, ain't that a shame? What are you going to do about it? That energy that you just expelled can be used on yourself to work on something that's going to, because we can't change anything out there until we change what's in here. That's true sovereignty. True sovereignty is not having to be led in any way in order for your life to be what you want it to be. You don't need leadership. You don't need it. You don't need to be, indoctrinated into anything. You need to have your eyes on the ability to, you need to have your eyes on your ability to discern and to decode what's happening. And then your judgment becomes what's more important.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yep. That's where you get into that thing, like you said, like, okay, so if you're all of these things, you're like this God incarnate, and you're not experiencing a good life here, that's because you have an aversion to something that's having to do with prosperity. Somewhere down the line, you learned that it is better to be a poor righteous teacher. Somewhere down the line, you know that if you increase your financial situation, your responsibilities are going to increase, and you don't want to do that. You got root chakra stuff. So if you have those issues, and I'm not judging anyone, but if you have those issues, that's where it starts. So sovereignty is basically your initiation into this existence. That's another thing. Like, oh, the matrix, we got to get out of this. We got to get out of this. And if you're playing a part in the matrix, then you're one of them and you're an agent and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, so you're trying to win the game by not playing the game. That don't make no sense.
Exactly.
You have to master. If you can't master your physicality, there's no way that you're sitting here telling me that you are a God in a spiritual realm. I just don't believe it. It's just my association with this. And I think that's why we're such a small community, because we understand the aspects of spirituality, but it has to be rooted and grounded in something that is tangible. That is why it's not very many of us, because people don't associate with that. So I think that, to answer your question, is true sovereignty in every aspect of your life. You have to decode, you have to know yourself, and knowing your triggers, like you were talking about, knowing your triggers, knowing what you will and won't do, and how you feel about yourself. If you truly don't love yourself, that's the first place you got to start. You know what I mean? In order to build on anything else. So absolutely. That's how I feel about it.
That's facts though. Because and I bring this up because the very beginning you mentioned sovereignty and being empowered, empowering yourself. But sometimes I think that's lost in translation because people don't really focus on that. They're so busy on trying to do all this other work here that they forget the importance of that. We discussed this in the Patreon class, Demetrius and I. Demetrius made a great point, and I'm going to reiterate it here. because that's my sentiment exactly. If you're an occultist, especially on the left-hand path, this world shouldn't be affecting you the way it is.
Right.
This world is your playground.
Right.
And what I mean by that is this is your playground to learn how to master yourself, to learn how powerful you can be. You should not be affected by the mundane things that are happening in this world. There's always going to be wars. There's always going to be political infighting. All that political is politics. It's all people get wrapped up in all those things. Okay. They get wrapped up so much in who's conservative, who's liberal, I don't give a damn about none of that. And I'm going to tell you why, because there's points in your life you're going to be liberal and there's points you're going to be conservative. Not in political view. I'm talking about just overall. Absolutely. That's just life. Okay. So people get so caught up in that. They get so caught up in my nation and my nationality and all that. They forget those are all part of the traps that bind you to ignorance. Okay. So they get caught up in, oh, I'm so, pro-America and pro this and pro that. And they're putting so much passion, energy into that, but their inner world is slowly deteriorating and falling apart. Their health is slowly deteriorating and falling apart because they're putting so much emphasis on something external that's never really going to change your life. Because I don't care how many laws are created, you are the only one that could change your life. No law is going to do it for you. Absolutely. You have to do that for you. Okay. You can't wait for other people to do it for you. You have to do it. So here, in a rulership of the outer world, then after we discuss this part, we're going to take questions. Rulership of the outer world. Don Webb says, when we have taken care of the first task, which is rulership of the inner world, we are ready to remanifest the results in our lives. To rule the outer world, we have to know what we like. Now, it sounds simple, but he goes on to say a second part here now. And what we have decided is beneficial for us. We have to decide what we are willing to give up in terms of freedom and what we must sacrifice now for gain later. Exactly. Knowing what we like is a tougher question than most people realize. Bam. Okay. That right there is a simple statement, but it's more in-depth than people can imagine. Knowing what you really like is more difficult than you could imagine. Because you think you like something, but was that a part of your program?
Exactly. It's layered. This is what I'm associated with. And if you can't tell me why, then it's a part of programming. It's a very simple formula. If you're like, this is what I like, and I'm like, why? Because you're supposed to, go deeper. There's more under there. You're so right.
Yeah. And so so I'll give you an example. People will be like, okay, I like whatever kind of car you like. Okay. And some people put so much emphasis on their car they like, they think it gives them social status. And in some settings it does. You understand? But that's a simple, superficial thing of what you like. Right. That there's more to liking than just that superficial thing. Okay. We are taught in prepackaged ways what to like. I'll give you an example. You go to a sneaker store. I love sneakers. Okay. There's no front. Okay. I love sneakers. But you go to a sneaker store and you think you have free will to choose what you want. Yes, your will is to choose what you want, but you don't have the choice of what you really want. Right. You're choosing what's provided for you. Let me say that again. You really don't have the free will as we think we do, because you're only choosing from what's provided for you. Absolutely. So I go into the sneaker store. You have the section for Nikes. You'll have your Jordans. You'll have your Air Maxes. You'll have so on and so forth. Then you'll have an Adidas section. You'll have some stores may still find Yeezys in there. And then you'll have regular, old school Adidas shell toes and stuff. That's what we used to call it back in the days, right? Yeah. Okay. So they call them superstars now, but yeah, those shell toes, right?
Shell toes.
Yeah. So we have people. Then you have a section that has that. And then you have a section that has, fitness sneakers, like people who are really into jogging and things. So you're basically choosing from these selections they gave you. You come out of the store, you feel great. Oh yeah, I bought what I wanted. But really, is that what you wanted? because some of us would love to create our own sneaker from the choices there. No, fuck, screw these choices. I want to make my own.
Right.
And you're getting somewhere now when you're able to do that. But most of what we decide that we think we like is prepackaged for us. It's given to you. So, for example, you go to a mall and you go to the food court. Are you really eating what you wanted to eat that day, or are you just settling for what's there in that food court and choosing what the best option is for you? That's kind of life in a nutshell. Life is the way the life is nowadays. Is you in the food court, and everything is picking from what's around you. You know, it's like, okay, this is, but you may not really like that.
Right.
Okay. Another thing, and I'm gonna go a little further each time. Culture has a lot to do with it too, and let me explain that. We get so caught up in our culture that we bypass the ignorance of our culture sometimes. Okay.
Right.
My family's background is Puerto Rican, from the island of Puerto Rico. My mom's born and raised in Puerto Rico. My dad's, he was born in the Bronx. He was born in 40s in the Bronx. He was one of the early Puerto Ricans there. All right. So now there's these stereotypical behaviors that people think a Puerto Rican should have. African Americans should have, okay? Jamaicans should have, so on and so forth. So the stereotypical behavior is if you're from New York or up north as a Puerto Rican, you have what's called the New Rican culture, right? So we usually wear our hats, which I do. It's very stereotypical, right? We usually, we into hip hop and reggaeton and dance hall and whatever other stuff. We have a certain behavior, okay? But you're also within that stereotype, you're also supposed to be Christian, mostly Catholic, so on and so forth. So now when you start falling outside of that, you're shunned. The culture shuns you, right? Oh, what's wrong with you? You're really not that Puerto Rican. So if you go to Puerto Rican Day Parade, you're supposed to have flags wrapped around your neck like a freaking superhero. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be waving the flag and all this. I've never been into all that. I just wasn't. Does that make my Puerto Rican card not valid anymore? Possibly, in a structured program world. But can you really say that you're really living your best life if you're falling within this cultural, playbook that's been provided for you? If you're African American from the South, you're supposed to like barbecues. Okay, you're supposed to like pork ribs. You're supposed to like all this stuff. But if you're left-hand path, how do you now, how do you remedy that? Because people are going to think you're supposed to be within this box. Right. Understanding you're not within this box. This is what I when I say external, it's also your culture has a lot to do with, because some of the things we think like in our culture are very stupid. So for example, my grandmother was a Black Puerto Rican woman of African descent. She's probably the complexion of Cosmic Serpent. That very grandmother used to tell me growing up, and this is a Caribbean thing that happens a lot across the Caribbean, not just Spanish-speaking Caribbean. She used to tell me, don't date Black women or marry a Black woman, you're damaging the race. Right. Marry a white woman, you're purifying the race. And I used to look at her, say, but grandma, you're Black. I used to have to duck when I said that because there was a backhand coming right after that.
She's like, no, I'm not. What do you mean?
Yeah. Purely, she was Black. Now, this is the programming that a lot of Puerto Ricans fall under. But you best believe there's a lot of Puerto Rican men and Puerto Rican women that love Black women and men. So if we were to fall under that culture, we would never, under that restrictive aspect of our culture, we would never be happy in our life because we would never pursue or engage in the things we want to. Understood? This is why I say culture is also part of that outer world that limits and then gives you a false aspect of what you like or don't like. And as I got older and I started traveling within the occult and the left-hand path, I started realizing, if you really discover yourself, then live your best life to what you really have discovered about yourself and just live it.
You better.
Because there is things that you got to step outside of. Like, one of my friends growing up, This Puerto Rican brother, he used to have a mullet. Goddamn mullets, yo. Anyways, he had a mullet, and I used to look at him like, God damn, bro, you wearing a mullet. But anyway, he used to be into heavy metal. And me and him were mad cool. And I used to stand up for him a lot because a lot of other people put him down, like, yo, Puerto Rican, we don't listen to that shit. Bro, you listen to what the hell you want to listen to. Music is music. If it moves your soul, that's what the hell it does. You understand that? Just because I may not like it fully like that, whatever, it's irrelevant. I actually like heavy metal too, but old school shit. But anyways, so these are the little things we fall under. And then when you come into the left-hand path, you start discovering these borders, boundaries, and limitations you have. That's what you're supposed to break to rule the outer world as well. You're supposed to break beyond your borders, boundary, limitations, and walk the path of taboo. Cosmic Serpent mentioned that earlier, and I'm gonna have her elaborate a little further what the path to taboo is really like. Because taboo is not always sexual. Please, people, get beyond that limited thought. Taboo could be what's taboo to your community, to your culture, to whatever. It could be something very physical, very or spiritual even. Like, for example, I have a lot of Haitian friends, right? But some of them born in America, voodoo is it's a taboo topic. It's like you gotta hide that. You know, I gotta brush that away, even though it's part of your whole culture, it's part of everything. But that's become taboo, so I can't really go into that because I'm supposed to portray this image now. You understand? So these are the things you really gotta like start paying attention to, because man, when you sit back and realize these things, this work is very complex. Just when you think you got some shit figured out, there's a whole nother world that opens up to you. And be like, God damn.
Layer after layer. And you know what I wanted to say earlier when you're talking about influence and how how life is like the food court. I mean, you can be an influencer as a job, you know, they pay these people to influence you. You're an influencer. That's your job, to influence the masses to one way or another. And 20, 30 years ago, we would never think that that would be a possibility. You're paying me to do what commercials do. You know what I mean? Like, it's deep when you really think about it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being an influencer or having that aspect of your business, you know, get your money. But when we were young, what do you mean? You're paying me to be a living commercial? That's interesting. And it's an energy. It's energy. It's not just what you're doing on the surface. You are becoming the energy of what you are influencing. So you are a conduit for whatever they're pumping down into you. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it, but it's true, you know?
That's true.
Yeah. And it's just, and talking about taboo.
Yes, there you go.
Talking about the aspect of taboo that, you know, should dwell within you. You should address taboo just like you address your sense of worth, security, everything when you're on this path. And it's not just about sex. It's not just about, it's being taboo is synonymous with being adversarial. We do this for a reason. You know what I mean? That's why in Satanism, it starts off as blasphemy. You know what I mean? It starts off as blasphemy. You're doing it as a reason. You're breaking social norms, you're breaking your programming, and you're doing it on purpose. We're doing this on purpose. The shock and awe that comes with satanic, you know, association when you're associating it as a Satanist and you put all those images out there and you start liking those images and things like that, that's a taboo. And the reason why you're doing it is to break the programming. Taboo has to be, it has to be taken seriously. I feel like, because on this path, if you're not pushing your limits, then you are really wasting your time when it comes to learning and growing and using what you've actually condensed. You know, if I read 1 million books, that's why I love this path. Because if I read 1 million books and I'm not able to put it into practice because I'm afraid, then nothing that I've read is worth it. None of this is worth it, you know? So we push ourselves on purpose. We dabble and we adjust to social norms by transcending them. You know what I mean? We adjust to this world. We adjust to this human condition by transcending things. You transcend the lower aspects of your humanity by understanding first why you're doing it and then pushing yourself. That's the only way that you can, whether it be mentally, whether it be physically, whether it be, spiritually. Yeah, I think that in the moment, it's a really good thing to do. There's a 1, 2, 3 rule. Like if you feel like that resistance, and even little things like that are taboos. You feel this resistance. You know in all your life that you have some people, you claim you have ADHD or you have this or that, some type of a mental something. If you can push past something that you normally wouldn't do, push yourself past something that you normally wouldn't say, bring it up, do something, bring something up, or go a place that you normally wouldn't go. Something like that. All of that is considered taboo because it's an individual journey. Yep. I'm not saying that you got to be as wild as some people are. I'm not saying you got to swing from the chandeliers. If you want to, you do that because it's going to give you a sense of clarity. That's what, BDSM is for some people. Yeah. It clears up blockages. It's not just it's a sexual orientation and it's a sexual pleasure thing, but it also clears up blockages. Yeah. Pain can clear up blockages. Re-experiencing issues in your life, going through. That's why shadow work is almost like it could be like a self-harm thing sometimes, because you're bringing this shit up over and over and over again to be able to do something with it. But that's a taboo. Yeah. To push yourself past that aspect. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Yep. And okay, so as y'all know, I go a lot into the Sith, but the nickname for the Sith a lot is the path of pain.
Right.
It's through pain that you discover pleasure. And I'm not just talking about sexual pleasure. There's a lot of different levels of pleasure. You in the path of pain is necessary. You can't transform yourself without pain. Right. People do everything, however, to avoid pain. But you don't grow in the most sublime, comfortable, peaceful times of your life. Right. Growth usually comes from pain. Right. It comes from chaos, comes from turmoil. That's when it occurs, because pain is the catalyst to growth. Mm-hmm. And we as humans been hardwired to kind of avoid that. We do everything we can to avoid that, which is why individuals who are like into combat sports, martial arts, things of that nature, we experience pain the more you get hit if you're sparring or so on and so forth. So pain becomes something you use to transcend beyond the limitations you have. As Cosmic Serpent said, that's why BDSM is so popular a lot to people in the left-hand path, so popular to people who are vampires and so on and so forth, because there's a certain threshold that most humans have about pain, and we're afraid to go to the other side. That's why the movie Hellraiser, all the Hellraisers kind of went into
my
that.
My favorite.
Yes, it goes into that, okay? Because on the other side of that limit of pain you think you have is a world of pleasure you're not used to. And that's what Pinhead kept trying to say. But they Hollywoodize it and everything else. But he always used to have such wonders to show you.
Exactly.
Yes, because there's a lot of things that we limit, and when we get there, we like, I'm not going there. I'm stopping. But what we don't realize is that's your programming kicking in. Like, I don't want to go to that side because of all these things I've been taught. And a lot of times that's what happens in India. And by the way, start typing in your questions while we finish this dialogue here. Start typing in your question, because I know there's a delay from you typing to when it shows up. So y'all start typing your question. If the question is for Cosmic Serpent, put @Cosmic Serpent and then the question. If it's for myself, put @Ravana Nuun and the question. Or if it's for both, just say both and then ask the question. But anyways, one thing you have to understand, a lot of times in India, the Agori,
yes,
were the masters of the path of taboo.
Right.
Everything that was taboo to society, they participate and partake in.
Yes.
And the reason they do that is not so much to shun mainstream society, to shove it in their face type of thing. The reason they do that is because what they discovered long ago is in the taboo is the sacred. See, people don't see it like that because they think taboo is just something you should avoid altogether. No, they realize that in the taboo, there is sacred energy, sacred gnosis, self-gnosis that you're going to receive when you pass across that threshold. That is why the Agora are known to be masters of the path of taboo, because they partake in everything that is taboo to the society, everything that's taboo in the Hindu culture, in India, they partake in it. And it sometimes, you know, people shun the Agori. They literally shun these individuals. But there's a purpose to what they're doing. Now, I'm not telling you to start walking around America with ash, rubbing ash all over your body.
No cannibalism.
Yeah. We're not telling y'all to do that, okay? What we're saying is you have to discover what your limitations are and find a way to break free to the other side. Because when you do, all that has been restricting you from growing, transforming, all of a sudden, all those walls start to crumble and come down. And then it's like a mass of energy just comes at you and it just hits you. Sometimes you get a super strong headache, even a migraine, because all that energy that's been blocked from you now is just coming at you. And you have to now absorb it. You have to kind of like, you know, not only absorb it, but you have to dissect it, you know, then digest it. So a lot of that is happening, but it's happening because you avoided these things all your life. So what we're telling you guys, discover what your taboos are.
Right.
And then do something about it within legal means. I always have to throw that in there. Some people get real retarded and then try to say, you know, Ravana and Cosmic Serpent said this. No, we did not. We said within legal bounds. Not the new black. Yeah. Said within legal means, do what you got to do within legally. All right. But understand, you have to start figuring out what these taboos are and these different things, because you have to push. And when you're pushing, you're expanding. And what I mean by that is even your inner childhood has been suppressed by your taboos. Right. Because when children are young, they have no real set boundaries or limits other than what they're taught by family. Okay, that's why a lot of kids get punished a lot, because like, yo, they wilding out. You know, understand? And then here come all the rules, regulations, restrictions that put on them by family. No, don't do that. No, don't do this. Don't do that. I understand, for good reason, because of society's boundaries and, you know, all this stuff. You have to kind of regulate that. But at the same time, we kind of restrict children from growing to immense levels because all the restrictions we put at them at some time. You know, it's like a catch-22. You have to, but then to what level? You know what I mean? But this is why some of us right now, there's a lot we haven't even discovered about ourselves. And it, like we said at the beginning, it started in childhood. You understand? You had some childhood interactions with a you know, in the schoolyard with an individual that still may be affecting you. You might have been bullied and things like that. So you have a lot of aggression now because you were bullied a lot in your life, because you were passive aggressive. Because we're taught in this society that aggression is something that you should curtail, something that should not be accepted. You understand? But yet we play football and then you make millions of dollars playing football, which is a very aggressive sport. Go figure that the freaking contradictions is amazing. But anyways, that's another thing. But think about that though. You know, so you may have experiences and now you're aggressive all your life, but you're told to hold it back. Yeah, it can be confusing. and can lead to you doing and making mistakes in your life. Now, people say, "Oh, I don't believe in mistakes." Listen, shut the fuck up, and I'll tell people why. Because we play so much with words and no mistakes. And listen, you're supposed to fail. Yeah, but I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as a lesson. Fuck it, it's still a failure. You failed at what your goal was.
Right.
Own that shit. Yes, I failed. You're right. I fucking failed. But through that failure, I learned my lesson. It's nothing wrong with that shit. But we're so taught to like become numb to things that we can't. I'll give you an example. In today's world, compared to when I was younger, there's certain things you can't even say without getting lambasted like a freaking pig. Okay, on being roasted. Okay, before when we were young, there was no problem saying the word crippled. Now you have to say, physically challenged. Like everything has been so watered down that if when you say what you really feel, you get shunned for that, or you get punished for that, or you get all these things. This is taking away your sovereignty, and it is done purposely. Don't think it's being done accidentally. It's being done purposely with a clear goal and objective. Okay. But the point is, you have to learn how to express, and you have to break free from what you're limited, but do it in a way that you don't bind yourself to some legal bullshit. All right. Anyway, let's see what questions we got here. All right. People are starting to type questions.
You know what I always laugh at? Yeah. If Married with Children was on TV now, it would be
man, that they would shut that show down. It'd be censored, and they wouldn't be ready for that. This young generation be pissed off at the stuff you be talking about. Anyway, all right, this for you, Cosmic. This is from Tunk Ray. All right. In trying to fix childhood trauma, which have you found to be more effective? Destroying the memory and changing it into what you want, or changing the emotion you had to the memory? Good question.
I guess it depends. I guess it depends on you. More effective, I'll say. I mean, the process of being able to do the first part, to change the memory, to drain the color of the memory, to really go in and manipulate your mind like that, because it's too tough to do anything else with, a death, abuse, something, a big, you know what I mean? If you have that ability, it is super effective, but if you are able to manipulate your mind that way, if you have self-belief, if you really are doing it, it is incredibly effective. It's very, very hard to really, really do that. If you are saying you're doing it and you're still having the same results, then you haven't done that. Because changing a memory is not something that you do all at once. You have to continue to revisit that until you can no longer feel that emotional attachment to that situation the same way that you were. If you cannot talk about it, if you still talk about it and it still makes you want to cry, you haven't changed it. So to answer your question, I think it's more effective based on your level of or your capacity of being able to deal with your mind. If you can change the emotion going through it, I think that's a little bit easier. And the reason I say that is because you can find something in the situation to focus on. The reason that you have the emotion is because you're focused on something that happened, that one thing. But that's why when I do the guided meditation, when I take people back, I'm like, okay, so you're in the room where the abuse happened. What sights do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? What color is the paint on the wall? What color are the dress that you're wearing? Okay, so if you can figure something out to focus on that does not involve the thing, it starts to drain power from it. It's easier. So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. All right. Let's see. Lee Sam 7578. This question is for both of us. So Kaiser Serpent, you answer the first part of it. I'll go on and put my part next. All right. So the question is to both. What place does compassion for others have in a left-hand path for you both personally? Yeah, that's a good question too, because I got something to say. Go ahead, Kaiser Serpent.
That's a hard one for me. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just gonna be real. I mean, it's a hard one for me. And Ravana,
Yeah.
that's hard for me. I mean, it's just, and it's something that I've had to deal with in my life. Like, it's really something that I've had to deal with, and it has been a struggle. It was a struggle. It was one of my greatest, I guess, almost, I guess, mountains to climb.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to consider myself evil, but I have a small well for compassion when it comes to, I mean, but that's just how I was born. That's just how I am, you know? So the aspect of compassion becomes a taboo. When you press past something that you don't necessarily associate with, then it becomes something that empowers you. So I used to be kind of adverse to that because, you know, it wasn't a part of what was about me, you know. It was about my focus would be broken dealing with that, and it was because I was hurt. It wasn't because I was just born evil, like I'm this, you know, villain or anything. It's because I went through some pain. Offering compassion and getting stepped on and used as a doormat and having this, you know, this horrible feeling about being kind to people because you always get, you know, the shit end of the stick. That happened early. So I became hardened to it. So the level of compassion that I have now is for people that I feel like deserve it. That's it. I'm not going to like lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, whoever answered this question and says that I have compassion for all mankind, because that is absolutely false.
Yeah.
You know, it's false. I don't have the people that I don't feel like deserve compassion. They will never get it from me. I wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire. I would rather see them on fire. I mean, you get to that point, you know what I mean? When you see all of the atrocities that happen and things like that, and not even the atrocities, just some people that I call them useless eaters. They're people that are here. They're just eating and shitting. That's it.
That's it. That's facts.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's my level. That's all I got.
No, but you're on point there, because your sentiments resonate with me. I have compassion for those who deserve it. She said it best. And that's always how I've been. But walking this path, I even started learning to understand that even more, why I've always been like that. See, we're taught, again, it's the programming. We're taught by society that we should be compassionate beings.
Everything.
But you know what happens by that teaching is a lot of us get screwed without grease. We're bent over without grease and screwed without it over and over and over, because we're taught to be too compassionate. That's a teaching. Religion teaches you that. If you were young, going to the church or the masjid or whatever the case may be, we heard this over and over. And a lot of us who heard that and tried to practice it got screwed over. Everybody does not deserve your compassion.
Right.
Okay, that's just a fact. If you believe everybody does, then you should be over there with Jesus, hanging out and chilling out with him. Okay, and his crew, and even he wasn't compassionate at that. So that's another story. But the point is, that kind of is a religious mentality to think I have to be compassionate for everyone or others. I don't. I choose who deserves my compassion, and I choose who doesn't deserve my compassion. And you know, you just have to take it on a case-by-case basis, because everyone is not privy to what you can bring to them. They're not. And that's kind of what another thing you have to learn on this path is, you have to be more selective in life.
Right. Absolutely. You will learn so quick, you know. It's like you can't just, and you know, I want to say one thing before you move on. That's why I feel like the left-hand path, Luciferianism, or satanic doctrine, the draconic path, the Sith path, should be bursting at the seams with melanated people. We should dominate this, because it allows you to free yourself up from that association, like you were just talking about, culture of compassion. It allows you to free that up, because we're supposed to turn the other cheek. We're supposed to love everyone, because why? It is the dumbest doctrine that you can adopt as someone that's attempting to heal yourself. Why do you have to be compassionate to someone that has done you wrong? What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is your association to the situation that happened. So if you say, okay, the best way is to forgive, because you have to forgive in order to heal. You have to forgive to be able to move on. There are some things. But if that person does not deserve that, are you not drawing power from that hatred? Are you not drawing power from that emotional attachment to the fact that you have this image of that person being hurt or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This
Exactly.
path should be bursting at the seam with those that have been taught and indoctrinated into the fact that they should be compassionate, even for the people that have enslaved them, captured them, then whatever. We should turn the other cheek. It's ridiculous. But I just have to say that.
No, but you're right, because I remember we were supposed to cross that bridge to discuss this, and I'm happy that was segued into that. One of the reasons I was attracted to the left-hand path was because as I started my baby steps in here, I started realizing, I said, yo, some of this information our melanated brothers and sisters could really use.
Absolutely.
They really could, because there's a certain mindset that we as melanated people have been put under. Oppressed people in general have been put under this certain mindset. The oppressed people tend to be the most compassionate, and the reason you're taught that is through religion, and that's why some of the melanated people are the most religious people in the world. Okay, and the oppressor used that to teach you compassion for keeping you oppressed, keeping you segregated, discriminated, so on and so forth. They purposely did that so you would stay in that mindset always, and always be compassionate enough to allow their fuckery to continue. Okay, exactly. And that's the facts. So I agree with Cosmic Serpent. There should be so many melanated people in here that those images that you see in a lot of books will be replaced by our images. I'm just saying. But anyways, and the reason why is because y'all got to realize some of the origins of this left-hand path goes way beyond European left-hand path. It began in areas that are melanated people. Okay. And it is your natural birthright. Yes, I said it. It is your natural birthright to be a left-hand path adversarial individual. Absolutely. Let's go to Kemet and Set, or Satuh. He is the perfect epitome of the isolated consciousness of being your own sovereign grand commander. That happened in Africa. Now there's a war going on of, where the Egyptians, Arab or black or whatever. Listen, all that, I don't get caught up in that trivial, because if you go back to pre-dynastic times in Kemet, okay, and you look at what's really been written, the people that were in pre-dynastic Kemet were dark-skinned people. Right. Okay, so Arabs, calm your asses down. All right, and other people who go to the extreme, call your asses down and realize that all this area at one time was our people. Okay. That doesn't mean anything other than just that fact, because those individuals from those areas populated the world. And in time, you have the results of what you see today. So let's get over our little racist issues, because there's a lot of racist people on the left-hand path too. I call them out all the time, and I'll tell them like it is. If you're not racist, then please depict one person in one of your books as a dark-skinned person. You haven't done it yet, so that means you're racist. You may not like it, but you haven't done it yet. If you want to show me Lilith as red hair, I've been to Dubai and areas of Arab lands. There's not a lot of red hair people in the Middle East, and the whole cultural teaching of Lilith began in the Middle East. There's a lot of brown skin to dark skin people in the Middle East, dark hair people. So why do you depict Lilith as red hair and pale skin all the time? Stop it. If you're telling me that's not racist, you're racist. Okay? Because you really know the history of that myth, of that story, you would stop depicting her like that. But anyways, that floats your boat and makes you feel some kind of way. That's good. But anyways, let's keep it moving. So Eric Jones asked, this for both of us. Cosmic Serpent, take the first part, because This is right on point with what you've been sharing. So Eric James Jones, sorry, shit, I almost fucked your name up, bro. Eric Jones, both when in the process of inner child healing, how would one dissolve triggers that a loved one triggers, I think it's trying to say triggers that of a loved one they may have caused in a convo or option to get closure. Okay, Eric Jones, let's get a little more clarification. Are you trying to ask, just say yes or no, or add what you're really trying to ask? Are you trying to say, in the process of your healing your inner child, how would one dissolve the trigger that an individual that is a loved one causes you in conversations or when they get close to you or something like that? Just let me know if that's really if you're still here, let me know if that's kind of where you're going. If not, just retype the question to make sure, because I don't want us to answer this wrong.
Right.
This is like a really important question. So if you get a chance, we'll come back to that question while you're typing to clarify it. Okay. But let's move to Dominique Moon. Dominique Moon, don't worry, Eric, we're coming back to you. But Dominique Moon asked to both, how do you feel about ruminating in reference to taboo? Therapists often shun the act of ruminating over pain. Take it away, Cosmic Serpent.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you ruminating, and therapists shun the act of ruminating? So like they're just telling you, just let it go, you know? Like is that right, Ravana? Like they're just saying like just let it go. That's
so
what they
let's look at the Oxford language
because I know my definition of it, but I want to make sure it's like correct, you know.
So let's use what they're saying. Ruminating, think deeply about something,
right?
Or wait, what? Hold on, let me get another definition. That's whack. Anyway, let me go here and check. Okay, to go over in the mind repeatedly and often casually or slowly, to chew repeatedly for an extended period.
Yeah, I mean, to ruminate over pain. If you're drawing power from that in some way, then absolutely. I don't think that it's a bad thing, because we push our limits all over here on this path. We're pushing our limits. We're getting to we tap dance with madness. You know, we're on a very thin line here. And sometimes when it comes to your development and what helps you, if it doesn't sound like something that is normal or like widely accepted, then it's probably correct, you know? So if you're drawing power from it, then I think it's an aspect that doesn't have to be wiped out. I mean, a therapist is going to try to heal you and fix you in the way that you are like a normal functioning human being, and you can be, you know, integrated back into society as a normie, you know. But we're here to be able to traverse the abyss, and that has so many areas, so many tunnels, so many crevices that have so much there. So I feel like if there's two sides to it. I feel like if it's something that helps you, then absolutely. But if it's uncontrolled, like if it's not something that you are doing to induce a state of mind, if it's something that is just, it's just, you cannot, you know, you're going over and over and over and over again, and it's just become an obsession, and it's something that's taking you over, get rid of it. Because it's becoming a thought form issue, and then it's going to replay itself in your life over and over again. So if you're not in control of it, do everything in your power to banish it.
Yeah. All right. Good one. Now, Eric Jones said, yes, it was correct. When I was trying to elaborate. So in the process of inner child healing, how would one dissolve triggers, or a trigger that a loved one causes you, whether in a conversation or when they get close to you or things of that nature?
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, the first thing is awareness. I'm glad that you can pinpoint it as a trigger, because Your healing is not, that's the first thing that I always tell people that I'm helping. Your healing is not based contingent upon anybody else's actions. You know, a lot of times they'll say, oh, in order to heal, you need to get closure from this person, or this has to happen, or this, your parent that abused you has to say they're sorry, or you have to, your healing has nothing to do with anything external. You shouldn't expect anything from anybody. So when you are faced with something that triggers you, that you can't get away from, you have to do something with that energy. You can't, what I'm assuming is that you're in communication with this family member, like you can't get away from them, or, you know, you can do one of two things. You can talk to them and let them know that that triggers you, and you can ask to be respected and your boundaries respected. So do not bring that up because I'm on my path to healing and you're fucking it up. Or two, you can choose to use that energy and internalize it and alchemize it. The hurt, the pain that it brings up, if it's something that triggers you, you know, like I have a girl that I'm working with now who's her mother like blames her for like her illness because she got really sick when she was giving birth. So she's like, if I didn't give birth to you, then I wouldn't be doing this. What the fuck? Like that, to me, that was like, so that's a huge trigger for her. So you have to alchemize that and internalize it. And every time that happens, you can see yourself growing stronger. You can see yourself devouring that energy and turning it into something else. You know, whatever your visualization, you know, comes to you, whatever comes to you or whatever you create. You know, you got either one or two choices. Let it affect you or not.
Facts.
Mhm.
All right. Eric Jones asks how to transmute or destroy malevolent energies that are in your way to self-mastery. Mm-hmm. All right,
Who's that question for?
that's for you, Cosmic. That's for you. Take it away. You want me to read it again?
Yeah.
All right. How to transmute or destroy malevolent energies that are in your way to self-mastery.
Well, I guess the first thing you would have to do is become aware of why that energy is there, what it is, uncover it. You know, if there's something in your way to self-mastery, it's got to be an aspect of yourself, right? So malevolent energies, are we talking about external things, something that somebody's doing, or something that just comes up, you know? So it's a difference. If it's something that's internal, it's a great guide to be able to see what type of work, shadow work or spell work needs to be done to dispel that. You know, you can work with a deity, you can do what you feel is necessary to be able to get that out of your energy field. But I don't think that things like that should be attacked immediately if it has something to do with you. If you feel like it's external, vanquish that shit immediately. Don't decode it, don't look into it, don't, you know, dig through it. If you feel like it's something that is coming from the outside as an attack, then just get rid of it. You know, do what you have to do to banish that. But if it's something that's coming up in a malevolent energy that is like an aspect of your mind or an aspect of your, you know, your psyche, you have to figure it out. You know, it's not there for no reason, you know, so it just depends on where you feel like it comes from. So that's divination, you know, and decoding, and also your discernment and intuition. So that's how I feel like you can deal with that.
All right, good. All right, so let me just say, Lord of the Flies, how long does it take to graduate? Basically, there is no timetable. That depends on the individual. Some people grasp information and they can internalize it and cause a transmutation on a chemical level within themselves rapidly. Others can take longer. It depends on you as an individual, and it depends on what you experience from childhood to today. Some might have more traumatic experiences, so it may take them longer. Others had less, so it may take them less. It's all case by case. It's an individual process, so some short, some long. It's really not one set time to graduate. All right, so okay, Night Flyer says, okay, what? I don't know if this is quite, let me read the statement. Inner child abandonment by my father at an early age. How can I get beyond that blockage? I have forgiven him, but that block is still there. All right, I'm gonna take this real quick and then because my dad kind of like abandoned us at 13, not early, but still at 13, which is the formative years for a young man or young growing into a man. He wasn't there, not fully. He married quickly and fell in love with her kids, and we didn't hardly see him. But anyway, so I understand the sense of abandonment. Okay. What happens is the forgiveness, what we make a mistake is this. The mistake is not so much forgiving him, it's forgiving yourself. What I mean by that is not so much the act of forgiveness, or I did something wrong. You didn't do anything wrong for him to leave, for him to abandon you. Forgiving yourself is basically realizing that I'm putting my energy into the wrong person. I'm forgiving him for an act he did, which really is your choice if you want to forgive him for that or not. You're not being penalized if you don't forgive him. You're not receiving brownie points if you do forgive him. What you have to do is take the internal journey and ask yourself, by him abandoning me, I see these blockages were created. Okay. You may have problem being in friendship with other men, or looking at male figures as someone who could be of guidance, or someone who can, share information to help you grow. Okay. So you kind of resist that. That is the forgiveness, where the forgiveness comes from, because every man is not your father. But we tend to generalize every man after. I'm not saying you're doing this or not. So let me say that. What I'm saying is just across the board for people who are listening. We tend to generalize this across the board to all men now. And then we have conflict with a lot of male figures in our life because of our father. Forgiving yourself is realizing the block was created because now I don't trust other male figures for what he did. I can't allow myself to be guided by another male figure because of what he did. So I have to forgive the fact that I even feel like this about other men when other men are not my dad. Other men have nothing to do with my dad, even though some men may have behaved the way your dad did. You have to really look within yourself and say, okay, this blockage is there and it's causing conflict, but I created the blockage. It wasn't your dad leaving you that created the blockage. You created the blockage because the act in itself was traumatic to you, that you shut down everything around you that was related to someone like your dad. And that can create a blockage and become very untrustworthy of male figures in your life. That can continue to compound itself over and over and over and have other side effects. So first you go inside yourself and forgive yourself for even feeling like that towards other men or other people, what other side effects came from it. But mostly attack the blockage. By attack, I mean find the exact moment. And you kind of give an example when the moment occurred. Mm-hmm. And go into that moment. And at that moment, when you relive that moment, free yourself from the block you created. Literally go back into it and rewrite that situation to free that blockage from even coming in. And you'll start seeing a change. Cosmic Serpent, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's the first step. What Ravana said is what I feel. You have to forgive yourself for having this as an effect in your adult life. You have to forgive yourself. Another thing that I always push and that I think is really important is reparenting. When you get to that point, you become the parent of your inner child. You are the parent that you didn't have, and you have to realize that when you were that age, this goes into the forgiveness that Ravana was talking about. When you were that age, you don't understand abandonment. When you're a child, you don't understand what that means. You think that it's something you did, it's something that, so, clearing that up is very important, but also just being able to be present for yourself in those situations and not stopping. Like abandonment needs consistency. So you have to be consistent on purpose to be able to heal that part up. If it's just the relationship that you have with other men, or the relationship that you have with like male figures in authority, or just, just the thought of that, to clear that up, you have to be consistent with yourself in life. You have to show up for yourself every single time, because like we said, our healing is not based contingent on anybody else. You can't wait for somebody to forgive, say, oh, I'm sorry for doing that, because it probably never happened. So being what you needed, consistent, showing up for your children. If you have children, taking that very seriously, never ever being him. That is how you get over those blockages, is literally traversing that aspect of yourself that needed, to be around someone consistent, just being what you needed.
Yep. All right. Next question for you, Cosmic.
Okay.
Can Lucifer help with shadow work?
That's it. That's the whole question.
That's it. You thought it was going to be something longer? No.
No, I didn't know. I was like, that's a great question. But I mean, the answer I feel like for me personally, because I mean, you have an individual experiences with deity. So what I experience, even if we read the same books, even if we go to the same classes, even if we have been on the same path our whole entire lives the same, your experience with deity is your personal gnosis. Same for me. I can tell you what I've experienced. Lucifer is an energy that I was introduced to when I initially started this. So of course, he can help with shadow work. He can help with whatever develops you in the path of, sovereignty, understanding the self, being able to do, he's empowering. He's empowerment. Lucifer is freedom. Lucifer is self-awareness. Lucifer is, enlightenment. So anything that has to do with enlightenment, self-awareness, empowerment, if you're doing that process. Now, the one thing that I will say, and this is personal gnosis, is if you're going to bullshit and not do it, then I don't think that he would help you. I think that that would be an energy that you couldn't connect with at all. I think that his energy is based contingent upon work and dedication and actually doing the process. He's not going to just go in. You're not going to be able to do an invocation to Lucifer and get your shadow work done for you, or just change overnight. It has to be reciprocated for that energy to work. But understanding his story, understanding his associations to the subconscious mind, all of that is important for to have a connection with him that's strong enough to be able to be assisted. So it's levels to Lucifer. You can't just go in and do an invocation with a little candle and say, okay, I call you. It's deeper than that,
Yeah. Facts. All right. Next question from Davian Kerr. The question is for both you and I. How can one get over let me start again. How can one get over mental illness and trauma on the left-hand path and grow stronger from it?
All right, Ravana, you first.
Oh, you putting me in the fire first. All right. Let me go in. All right. How can one get over mental illness and trauma on the left-hand path? All right. Ritual work. Okay. Right. That's the first step. Ritual work. Now, the ritual work is different from each individual. What do I mean by that? Here it is. Depends on what your trauma may be, it's going to be different than someone else. Okay. So let's say you experienced abuse, or let's say you experienced the sudden death of a family member, or, you lost one of your parents in a car accident. It could be numerous things. So I'm not going to go over, every example, but it could be many of those things. Okay. Let's deal with the trauma part first before mental illness. The trauma of that has affected individuals from that moment to this current day, let's say. However, the problem is the trauma persists if you do nothing about it. The trauma can compound itself and then create issues in your life, which issues tend to be attention, love, affection, lack of these things, and there's more.
Yeah.
It can start creating issues around that. And these issues then develop behavioral issues, and it keeps compounding itself. What is important to understand is the trauma is faced in a ritual. You can either create a ritual or have someone help you create a ritual that focuses on going into that trauma once again. For example, Cosmic Serpent would take you into a guided meditation to help you see and experience that trauma again. But then there's work that will be guided, that you would be guided through how to deal with overcoming that trauma in the ritual work as it's happening. Okay? That's important because trauma affects us various ways and can be a life changer and can affect you well beyond even into the afterlife. People don't even realize that. Okay. Now, mental illness, that's something a little different because I'll put it like this. Mental illness and how it's defined today may not necessarily be a mental illness all the time. Okay. Some mental illnesses can be overcome by vitamin D, B12, and so on and so forth. But they don't, well, whatever. I'm just going to shut that part up there before they shut us down. But anyways, okay. So I'm going to just say mental illness can be, there's ways to overcome that. Okay. Depending on the mental illness, because we're on YouTube, I can't give you a solid answer on mental illness because we're supposed to tell you that you may want to contact your mental health professional to assist if any of, mental illnesses persist. That's just covering ourselves, okay? Right. But mental illness does have an impact on your life. And in Left Hand Path, we suggest, as Left Hand Path practitioners, that you deal with your mental illness before you even begin your journey on the Left Hand Path. I'm going to be honest with you. Because some of the work you do can trigger things within your mental illness that can make it a little difficult for you. Right. So please, before you journey deeper into that, any individuals out there, make sure you deal with that first before you come in here. Okay? Because this work, and Carl Jung said it best, this work is a life changer. What I mean, he didn't say it just like that, but essentially he said the reason why people choose not to do this path, I'm kind of paraphrasing into my words now, is because it's not popular. Right. But you cannot receive or become enlightened by imagining figures of light and working in the light. You become enlightened by going into the dark and journeying within yourself. So before you do any real deep rituals, depending on your mental illness, please seek help from a mental health professional, because some of the ritual work can have adverse effects. All right.
Very true.
Go ahead and it's your turn to answer. I did the best I could.
Very true. No, I agree with what Ravana said 100%. I mean, we're telling you to seek professional help if you feel like it's necessary. If you feel like you're getting bad, I would say, yeah, absolutely. But it is imperative that you get a handle on your mind before you start manipulating your mind. Mm-hmm. If you don't feel safe in your mind, this is not work that you should be doing, period. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you are not going to be able to discern. You're going to deal. I've literally had, I'm not saying clean up because the people that know that I'm working with, I love them, but I'm literally having to work through traumatic experiences that people induced upon themselves because they didn't deal with their issues before they started to break their brain, which is what occultism is. You're literally You're going through the mystery. You're becoming a mystic. You're reaching into the spirit world. You're doing things to manipulate your own energy. You're seeing things happen. You know, if there's a level of distrust that you have within your own mind, you are going to slip. This is just not a place. I would never, ever suggest that to anybody. It's not a place for you. You have to start small. Once you get safe in your own mind, then hey, you know, some of the processes that I think that can be overcome, that you can work to overcome things, are devotion, devoting yourself to figuring out what's wrong, how you can work with your own energy to change things, working through blockages as they come up, and just the devotion, just like Ravana said. Are you working out? Are you eating correct? Are you taking the right vitamins? Have you gotten checked? Have you gotten your thyroid checked? Have you gotten your hormones checked? Have you done every single thing possible to call these symptoms? And if you've done that, then you know you have to use your discernment. The spell work is important because that's triggering something in your brain. That's what we call psychodrama. You know, we're doing something in the physical that might not seem like much to someone else, but you are energetically creating something. You're creating a ritual, or you're being guided into a ritual that's manipulating your environment. You're manipulating your mind. This is your energy being kind of feedback loop into yourself. So, you know, creating spell work, once you feel safe in your mind, don't do anything if you're not safe. This is not for you. You got to go back to just read. Don't even read. Don't even do any of that. Don't. It's not safe, you know?
Yep. All right. This question is for both of us. Golden Lioness says it's for both of us because she wants the male and female aspects of the question. So what are good techniques or advice to light passion within yourself when you are in a numb state?
Kundalini. Working your Kundalini energy. If you don't have a practice that involves strengthening your Kundalini energy or connecting to it, I feel like that breaks, because blockages on the outside mean there's blockages on the inside. So if you can't get past something that has happened, like if you just can't do this, I can't, that means that there is, or if you feel stagnant, or if you don't feel like your energy is moving, especially for women. If you feel like your body is stuck, you feel like you're stuck in a situation, or you feel stagnant inside of your body, it's because your internal energy is clogged somewhere. And if you aren't being kind to yourself, you might have a clog in your heart chakra. If you're not saying what you need to say, you might have a clog in your throat chakra, whatever. You go through your scan, your body scan, when you're doing your meditation, and you figure out where it is. And then when you work your Kundalini energy, you just pump it. There's got to be a practice. Start off. I know you, Golden Lion is, you know, I know you got Kundalini practice. I know you do, but you know, you just use that energy to invite, just like plugging yourself into the wall. You know, even if you just can't, there have been days that I'm like, I can't, I just don't, I feel stuck. It's because there's something that needs to come out. There's something that needs to be birthed. So if I am literally stuck like that, I force myself to paint, to draw, to dance, to sing out loud, to do something that moves the energy around. And technically, you know, that's having to do with sacral energy, which is where most of our, you know, passion and insightful things come from. But use that Kundalini practice to charge yourself up, you know.
Yep.
It's hard, but you gotta force yourself sometimes, you know.
All right. So my part. Golden Lioness, you want the normal answer or you want the freaky answer? No, anyways. I could give you both, doesn't matter. But yes, Cosmic Serpent's on point. Kundalini is very good. Shit, why is my mind going blank? There is the practice of, damn, I can't believe it. Well, anyways, there's 3 pumping mechanisms in your body, 3 different sections.
The channel locks.
Yes, channel locks. There's a band of locks. Yes, it's band of locks. Right. So that's one way. And I know, you know, because Golden Lioness is into a lot of, you know, different practices when it comes to things like that. But sometimes passion can break through blockages or resistance. Okay. If you're passionate about something, like let's pick you're passionate about traveling and you haven't traveled in 3 years, you might want to find a way to travel that might spark your passion again. Okay. If it's a sexual blockage, and you're not feeling passionate when it comes to anything sexual, you got to find something that you're passionate about. Someone you visualize, imagine someone, they just do it for you and you haven't done it in a long time. Go into a visualization of that individual, rub one out. Yes, I said it, rub one out, thinking to that person. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. We're adults here.
Right.
Okay? So you allow yourself to engulf in the thought, the vision of that person, their sound, the way they speak, their if you've been around them, their cologne or perfume or body oil they wear. Okay, whatever it is, all those things trigger senses within our body that causes one to awaken that passion again. Or sometimes, as Siths say, anger gives you focus. Okay. Anger is also a catalyst to spark your passion. If you're angry about how things are going in your life right now, there's a blockage, get angry that you allowed the blockage to even exist and focus all your energy towards destroying that blockage. That can increase your passion tenfold. Okay. Because as the Siths say, peace is a lie. There's only passion. Passion leads to many great things. So as the Sith code goes, peace is a lie. There's only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. See, your passion gives you strength. So whatever you've been passionate about before, you might have to expand beyond those things to find something new to be passionate about. And they'll give you new renown and rejuvenated strength. Okay. But through strength, you gain power. That means you're becoming more powerful because you're breaking free from the blockage. Through power, you gain victory over yourself. And you break the chains that have always bounded you. Right now, you might be handcuffed by not allowing yourself to push beyond whatever has you feeling numb. There's nothing wrong with exploring things that you have not allowed yourself to explore to find that passion. Okay. Because passion could be a physical thing. It could be a mental thing. It could be many different things, but you have to find ways to discover breaking past that. And that blockage or resistance, sometimes the blockage or resistance comes from how we perceive something. Okay. Right. How we perceive it is creating a blockage or the resistance to that which it is. Sometimes that's where the path of taboo comes in. Sometimes you have to go into the very thing you're resisting, because what you resist will continue to persist. So if you're resisting something, yes, a blockage will occur. Your body becomes numb because you're resisting the very thing that is, that you may have to partake in. Okay. You have to really assess the situation and really figure out one of those things. That's the best, we doing our best in this little time to really share what we can about that. But passion is very important. And I know you'll discover it because you know how to work energy. So you'll figure out just by some of the things we said, which way to best work it. Okay.
I want to say one more thing about that to her specifically. Also, blockages, and it's just coming up in me. I just want to say it. Blockages and feeling that numb feeling also may be a result of tolerating something for too long, being dull to pain, feeling like you have to be resilient to pain when the issue is something that you can control, but it's just a lot, Dullness can be being just, resilience. You're tired. Your avatar is getting tired of that aspect. I've definitely been there. That's why that comes up, to be like, all right, you're dull. you can do like Ravana said, and then use that as a path to taboo to kind of push past it. But there's nothing but power on the other side of that.
Yep.
Nothing but power on the other side of that. This just comes up. I just want to say that.
Yep. All right. Next, this question's from Gramancy. This is for you, Cosmic Serpent. How powerful was taboo tantra practices for your healing and your growth to apotheosis? That's the first part of the question. So answer that part, then I'll give you the next one.
I think very, very powerful. Without being too forward for YouTube, I
Mm-hmm.
I have a very sexual nature about me.
Yes,
I was born this way.
Amen.
And being able to push past some of the restrictions and push past some of the cultural restrictions, I'll just say restrictions, rules, being able to free yourself from that is incredibly healing if you associate your energy with that. If sensual energy and sexual energy is how you power your ship, being able to push past things that are considered taboo, being able to engage in things that are being considered taboo gives you power. It's just like if you were associated with, science and they said, oh, this can't be done. And you said, oh, no, watch me, because my brain is big enough to wrap it around this concept and discover something new, so that tantric practices and all of that, it definitely helped me a lot.
I'm gonna have some private questions for you after this, but anyways, no good. Yeah. Anyways,
this is another part. Did I miss it?
Yes. What was there any surprises while you were on that path?
Surprises. I think the surprise and the thing that always drives me and like pushes me to continue to do things that shake my associations up and like to explore things that I never explored before is the fact that I found power. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to lie. I don't care if anybody judges me. The reason that I'm here is because I want power. And it's not because I want power. It's not because I want power over people or I want to manipulate or I want to do all of these things. It's because I want power over myself. I want power over my general existence. I want to be the biggest, meanest, and the fastest in my corner of the world always. I don't want anything to be able to come to me and overpower me because I have a hold of my own mind and I am powerful, and it's not about dominating anything else. It's about controlling yourself. So the surprises that came were the amount of available power that is behind some of the things that I was doing. Especially coming from the type of lifestyle and family and all of that I am from, coming from being like, prim, proper, ma'am, debutante type thing to going into practices that would make you clutch your pearls. You think, okay, power. You're like, okay, so what's on the other side of that? What's on the other side of me doing something that even I don't think I should be doing? I want to, but I don't think I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. Amen. I do it. And then on the other side of it is like, not only are you still here and you're okay, but you feel like you could like rip a hole in the universe at this point. So I think the surprise was that there is power there. People say that, but until you experience it, it's not going to mean anything to you. It's not going to mean anything to you. Those people that go get tattoos because they like pain. I'm like, before I started on this path, I'm like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would somebody put themselves through pain You know,
Right.
I'm a delicate flower. I'm not going to get any pain happening to me. That's ridiculous. It's just going to turn me off and I'm going to be traumatized. But when you realize what you're doing already is mirroring to that, digging up your past lives,
Mhm.
digging up your trauma, going through things to really call yourself out on your shit, making sure that you take responsibility for everything you do and everything that happens to you is your responsibility. Becoming the god of your own existence. Self-deification is pain. It is like, you know, it is pain. So you're a little pain lover if you're here. So, you know, you might as well just go for it with it.
That's right. Amen, sister. Amen. Yeah. That was a good question. Very good answers. Okay. Moving on to the next one. All right. Night Flyer says, all right, so we both could recommend a lot of stuff here. So Night Flyer asks, regarding Kundalini practice, can you recommend sites or books? Thank you both in advance. All right, so I'm gonna give you a book that is a must for all melanated people that are on the left-hand path. Okay. And why did my mind just go blank? It's called Jewel of the Lotus. Jewel of the Lotus. Let me actually hold on, y'all. I'm gonna grab the book. That book is actually written by a brother who's recently passed away. He was here. He was here in Florida. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna grab this book. Yeah, it's a must book. Give me a second. Hold on.
Y'all like the fire? We're in a fire in the fall.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll get it for y'all later though. Hold on. Jewel of the Lotus. All right, Jewel of the Lotus. Just look it up. It's written by a brother. He actually is the one that shared and taught many individuals how to do bandalocks. This is a brother who actually traveled, got initiated in a lot of tantric schools, and he brought it to melanated people. All right. So check out that book, Jewel of the Lotus. I believe it is Jewel of the Lotus. But if not, yo, I'll type it out in a minute while Cosmic Serpent gives her recommendations. I'll look for it real quick and then type it out in the chat room. All right. So go ahead.
There is a book. I'm gonna have to look it up as well because I can't remember the author. There is a book that he wrote for males and a book that he wrote for females, and it has to do with arousing Kundalini and awakening that energy.
Talking about Mantak Chia?
Yes. Okay. There's two books. If you know, whoever you want to get it for, you know, you get male one, female one. That book is awesome. A lot of, I can't remember. I'm not really good right now because I need to go and look. But a lot of the practices that I initially started with, you know, I learned from Ravana, I learned from other practitioners on this path. And then a lot of the gnosis that came from that was just to repeat that process. You know, a lot of it was personal gnosis. I haven't learned very much about how my Kundalini awakening has supported my growth and my spiritual path out of a book. So I think that it is like imperative that you like just do the practices. Once you come up with the baseline, just doing them as often as possible, it helps because you learn easier that way. And he's looking for books.
I'm devastated, man. I can't find the damn book. Somebody stole my shit.
I hope not.
Yo, it's not here. All right, anyways, I'm gonna start looking for this because now I'm devastated. All right, anyways.
Right. It's there.
Yeah, it's there somewhere because I got too many books in there. I can't go through all of it. But anyways, yeah. Another book to get that's really good is Tantric Kali. Tantric Kali is a really good book for Kundalini and actually mantra work through Kundalini. And trust me, it awakens a lot because mantra work actually gives you kind of different magical powers as well. Okay. No, Sunyata Saraswati is not the person is it? No, you're right. It is Sunyata Saraswati. Hey, there you go, brother. Thank you. You saved me. You saved me. Anyways, yeah, that's the brother's name, Sunyata Saraswati. Go check out that book, Jewel of the Lotus. All right. It's a must. It teaches you a lot of good practices. Mantak Chia, like she said, is another one. That book, Tantric Kali, I think is by Daniel Odor, is another good one. I still practice Vama Marga. All right. Tantra, but from the left-hand path perspective, that's where you experience more the feminine energy, the feminine power. That's a whole different level. But yeah, those are some of the books that you could check out. As far as websites, not really sure, but just check out some of those books. All right. This is a question for me. I think I'm high off the question itself. Ravana, one vampiric practice that drains energy. I'm so high off the question, I can't even answer the fucker. All right. Anyways, Ravana, one vampiric practice that drains enemies into submission. All right. So, see, I used to answer questions like that on YouTube, but all I can say is this. If you have an enemy, okay? If you have an enemy and you physically see this enemy, focus on their solar plexus chakra. And then by the act of breathing, right, rhythmic breathing, sucking in, you visualize sucking in their energy from their solar plexus in through you. You can take it in through your chakras by the solar plexus. You could take it in different chakras, depends how you want to work it. But you basically rhythmically breathe as you're sucking the energy into you. Some people would just tell you take the energy in, but I found it more effective when you breathe in, and kind of like almost like you're doing the sun breath, but it's a little different, and you kind of suck in the energy from that individual. You can basically suck it all in, but be careful, because if you take too much in, you're gonna feel high, you could be dizzy, you could be all that. So you gotta kind of like tone it down to a level and not go overboard. Okay. And Dominique Moon, thank you. Yes, healing love through the Tao, or the Tao by Mantak Chia. Check that book out. All right. So that's one vampiric act. But Eric Jones, get into the vampire class. You want to know more, because boy, I've added I think I have like 50 rituals now inside the vampiric shit. So there's a lot of new stuff. But any other questions? Type it now if you all have any, because we're about to wrap it up. But yes, on the last note, always remember this. You can have all this knowledge, but if you don't execute what you heard here tonight, then it's just that knowledge. And in time, it becomes useless to you. Anything that we said, if you want to verify for yourself, execute a plan to put it into practice. Otherwise, it's just going to be things you hear from us saying, and you'll never verify it for yourself. Always verify what you hear. Eric Jones, you could use a pic. Yes, you can use a picture of your enemy if you have access to that. It's the same. Pictures hold the energy of that person. That's what people don't understand. You don't have to be right in front of them. Pictures hold energy of that person. Looking at the picture and saying their name, because names of an individual hold the energy signature of that individual too, are also effective if you're not able to be in front of them. Okay. Hey, look at my boy Demetrius. How you doing, brother? Demetrius shows up at the very end. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah, we're still, damn, some of these names I don't want to butcher, yo. Shakoleri Brown. If I fucked it up, sorry. But are you still doing mentorships? Definitely. I do personal mentorships. Personal mentorship is different than the classes. Personal mentorships, we go into what you want to discuss, but on one-on-one. So if you want vampiric, let's say you join a personal mentorship, I will give you one-on-one instead of in a class, and give you more assignments, usually because it's more of a mentorship program to really develop you into a well-rounded, let's say, vampire, or really well-rounded into the tunnel of set. But Demetrius mostly handles the tunnel of set classes. And I'm telling y'all now, if you're not in them classes, you're missing it. Demetrius banging people in the heads with some of these rituals. I know, because I do them myself. And he has people looking like zombies sometimes, but hey, that's a different story. It's all for a purpose. All right. So yeah, Cosmic Serpent, give him your contact information, your classes, your YouTube, anything you have, because some people are asking how to get in touch with you. So go ahead.
So my main social media is Instagram. So I'm at the cosmic serpent. So that's how you can find me on Instagram. There's a link in my Instagram that will take you to my website, and I've got the offerings there. So I've got like a blog there, but I've also got, like, if you scroll down, you'll see divination, and then you'll also see consultation. I also can do things customized. There's not always something on the site that fits everyone, so you can hit me up within reason and respect. I am not going to engage with you if it's not anything that's respectful or that's within something that I feel like is necessary. You would not, Ravana can contest to this. You wouldn't imagine the stuff I get. So if it's not something that I feel like is respectful, I'm just going to delete it. Yep. So if you don't hear from me, that's why. I've got an email there. So the Cosmic Serpent 7. If you want to email me, you can. I also have a TikTok where I just have fun and do silly stuff. It's just something like I need an outlet for my feminine side. So I just went ahead and did that to have fun. And, I actually do check my inbox there sparingly, but I do check it. So if you have me on TikTok, I'm just the Cosmic Serpent on TikTok. So I'm there as well. And that's it. I have classes going on, but you can jump in. Doesn't matter.
Good. And yes, definitely for those of y'all who are seeking shadow work, healing the inner child, hit her up. Okay, hit her up. She's been doing this for a minute. She used to be in my classes, and she's Big Mama now. So I represent and vouch for Big Mama's work. All right.
Thank you.
So she can take you guys on a journey that will really benefit you. So support the sister. Definitely check out her classes. All right. I'm gonna give my contact information. It's not like y'all don't know, but if you don't know, Temple of the Black Serpent on Instagram. I prefer that people hit me up on Instagram. If you contact me in other ways, it's gonna take me longer. It's Instagram, I can see the notification, so I'll answer quicker. Or you can email me at the Vampire Temple of the Black Serpent. That's another way to contact me. Or check out the Patreon classes, Temple of the Black Serpent, or the Sith Temple of Darkness is the other Patreon class, but that's for Sith work, for those who are seeking that. Check out those. Right now in the Temple of the Black Serpent, we have a personal mentorship class. We have a shadow work class. We have a Tunnels of the Set class, which deals with the Tunnels of Set and the Cliff-Oth. We have a vampiric class, we have a necromancy class, and we have a deific mass class. Now, in case you're wondering what the deific mass class is, the deific mass class is when we choose one god, goddess, dark god, goddess, demon, whatever, and we take our time working with it longer than we can in a normal class. So, for example, we'll work with Kali for 4, 5, 6 months, giving you more in-depth connection to that energy of Kali. Right now, we were working with Kali, but the energy shifted back to Set, Satuch. So now we're going to start working with Set, Satuch again for another 4, 5, 6 months. And the reason why we do that is because a lot of times what I found is there's not enough discipline. And when you work with just one archetype or deity or whatever you want to call it that makes you feel good, that brings more benefit to you than just jumping. To really get a connection with any demon,
right,
god, goddess, you have to dedicate time than just a week or two rituals or whatever. You should dedicate months to a year or more. Then you'll start to get the benefits that you really want for working with that particular energy. To work with Set, like we're doing right now in the Deific Mass class, if you want to join, come in. That is strictly going to deal with the isolated consciousness, the vampiric aspect of Set, and just separating yourself from the sheep herd mentality and breaking free to be your own God. So that's what we got going on now. At least once a month, I'm gonna do my best to get Cosmic Serpent on here. I know we're both busy at times, but we're gonna work it out. We figured a day that best works for us. So I want to have her on here at least once a month. Spread the word, y'all. And we said it, yes, there was no negating or holding back. We do this for everybody, but we do this for melanated people. Right. That's what our goal is, to really get out there and bring this to our people, because as a nation of people, this work will transform our people more than any other garbage that is out there. Okay.
Absolutely. And I want to say one thing to anybody else that's watching, the women, mostly. I am a girl's girl. I'm not a girl that's going to be like, who are you? Catty, all this stuff. If you need to approach me, if you have questions, I am a girl's girl. I'm not going, I love my sisters. I just want to put that out there, because it seems like sometimes, people on this path can be very, closed off and secluded. I know I'm protected. There's nothing for me to be afraid of. I love my sisters. So please come to me if you have questions that you think I can answer or help with. Just want to say that.
Also, let me also say this. Yes, the left-hand path is a very solitary path. But when we do meet like-minded people, we become a pack of wolves that are unstoppable. So don't get it twisted that we're all like just selfish and individuals and we just all to our, no. Yes, it's a solitary work, but when we connect, we become strong like a wolf pack. So don't get it twisted now. It's not just because you see me by myself. There's a lot of other people that are connected with me mentally. We coming at you. If you coming sideways. I mean, just know it. Don't think that. Real quick, let me say this. Don't think that just because we do this work and we're healing and everything else, that we don't know how to F stuff up magically. All of us know this dark arts, and all of us will destroy you. Okay. Right. Just a quick tip. Go ahead, sister.
No, I wanted to also say that there has to be a level of discernment when you trust people on this path, because there are some people that are scammers. There are some people that will try to teach you something and their lives are fucked up. There are some people that will judge you. There are some people that will tell you things that will damage you, that will damage your sense of security. There are some people that will make you feel less than them because they know more than you. It's all bullshit. The only reason I bring this up is because I personally want to say that if you need someone to teach you and you want to go down the path, all the classes that Ravana just gave you, I do suggest them. If it needs to come from a woman, I do suggest them, because this is a trustworthy person. Ravana is not going to judge you. You know what I mean? And he's not going to like use your money for nothing, like just take from you. I know I've been there. He's told me, you're not ready. Bye. For some situations, like, you're not ready. So it's better for a person that does that for you than somebody that's just, taking from you. Just be careful, because I see a lot of people out here that are teaching and like helping. Don't let everybody read you. Don't let everybody do spell work for you, please. Like, these people are selfish. They don't want to help you.
There's a difference between those people like that Cosmic First referring to and us. We're not the type to do work for you. We're going to show you how to do the work for yourself. Absolutely. If somebody's doing spell work for you, cut and run. And I'm going to tell you why. They can't be as vested in what you are desiring.
Exactly.
So they're not going to put the energy into it like you would put the energy into it. So it's better that you learn how to do it than going to these people who may charge you $3,000 to do a spell that may never work, because they're not vested in it like you are. So we teach you how to do that. But before we get to those levels, We teach you how to master and heal yourself. So when you open the doors to Pandora's box, you're ready for it and not screwed up like people were in Hellraiser because they weren't ready for it. Get it?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So it's been beautiful. Thank you, Cosmic Serpent, for coming out. We'll be in touch. Definitely gonna have you on in August, but let me know if August is good for you, you know, at a later date. But yeah, thank y'all for coming out. Support the sister, check her out on Instagram and everything else. Thank y'all for coming out. Vernal blessings to all. Bye-bye. All right, hold on now. Let me shut this down. Hold on, Cosmic Serpent. Don't go.
Okay.